But what we're going to do is start off by what I want you to do is introduce yourself, tell when you were at Texas Southern University, and tell how long you have been together. Okay, so we're going to start off. I'm going to go in order of what I see on my screen. So that's Melvin and Francis Plummer, Harold and Pat Odom, Donald and Rose Odom, and then Raymond and Anna Holmes. Okay. Okay, so when you're ready, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Francis Plummer, Francis Jordan Plummer, and I was at Texas Southern University from 1966 to 1970, so class of 70. And this is my husband.
Melvin Plummer, and I was at Texas Southern from 64 to 69.
And we've been married for 54 years.
Right. Harold and Pat.
Hi, my name is Pat Odom. I started to TSU in 1961, and Harold and I met in 62, and we were married in 64. And we've been married for, it'll be 60 years in September.
In May.
In May, I'm sorry.
Shaking our month.
That's a blessing. 60 years.
If we make it. Yeah, I'm Harold Odom, and I came to Texas Southern in January of 61, and graduated in 65.
Okay.
I had a 1 semester stop off in Morehouse, and then came to Texas Southern in 61. And as she said, we'll be married 60 years, May 3rd, coming up.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rose Plummer Odom. Fran and I started Texas Southern the same year, 66, and we were in the class of 70. And we were married September 6, 69, and this is?
I'm Donald Odom, Senior. I came to TSU in 64 and graduated in 67. I had 1 year up at Arlington State College, which is now UT at Arlington.
Okay, we are Raymond and Anna Holmes, and I came to Texas Southern in 1965. I had already been 1 year at the University of Texas in Austin and transferred to Texas Southern, and I graduated in 1969.
I'm Raymond Holmes. I came to Texas Southern in 1964 in pharmacy, graduated in 1969. That's about it.
And we married
We married in 1970.
March 28, 1970.
All right.
And we've been married 53 years next month.
Okay, so we're looking at over 200 years of marriage right here on this screen. So we're going to get some pretty interesting stories, I'm sure. And then, of course, anyone who's paying attention will see that we have several names that are similar that were mentioned today. So let's start off by talking about that. How did you all come to Texas Southern? I know a couple of you said you transferred to Texas Southern University, but you all are all connected. So let's start off with, how were you connected to each other? Donald and Rose, would you like to start?
Sure, we can start. I'll give you the relationship. Harold and Donald are brothers. Harold was the first to start TSU. And Fran and I, of course, are sisters in love because she married my big brother. And so Anna and Raymond, we met on camp, TSU. And of course, Fran, Anna, and myself, we were line sisters. Gamma Psi.
Yeah,
67.
So if we're
Yeah.
looking, of course, we can see those beautiful pink and green shirts that you all have on. It says, I love my HBCU, Texas Southern University. So you all have all known each other for a very long time. Some of
Very
you
long time.
before you got to
Very long
Texas
time,
Southern
forever.
University.
Right.
So did any of you go to Texas Southern University because you already knew someone that was there?
I did. I had a brother that was at Texas Southern in biology.
Okay.
That's one reason why I came. Besides the fact there was only 3 pharmacy schools at that time in the state of Texas. And
Okay.
TSU was one of them.
Okay.
Okay, I'll go next. My story is a slight bit different. You might appreciate this. I was scheduled to go to Howard University.
Okay.
I was already accepted, had room assignment. I had a roommate already assigned, but I was in need of scholarship money. And when I did not receive the scholarship money necessary for me to go to the East Coast, then I enrolled at Texas Southern University. Now, I did have 2 brothers already there, so it was not unknown to me.
Okay. Okay.
I was just like Fran. I had been accepted at Howard and was going to go to Howard. And then my big brother told my daddy, that boy don't need to go all the way up to Howard. He come on up to
I said, what?
Hey, audience, some of these things we're hearing for the very first time, but that's okay.
Oh,
But it
and
looks like it worked out for you in more way than one by you staying and going to Texas Southern. So
Oh, yes, yes. I never would have met her.
that's right. So it worked out.
And-
God's
And of
plan.
course, I was influenced by my big brother Melvin, who was there before me. So it was a good move all the way around.
Yep.
Definitely.
And Raymond tells everybody I came to TSU for him, which is not the truth. My professor told me I came to get an education. He could tell because I was studying my books. So no, I left UT and it didn't like me as well. So we both agreed that I would go and join my friend. I had a girlfriend and they had all gone to Texas Southern. So I joined them. Thank you.
Okay.
Real truth comes out.
Yes.
If y'all believe that, I have a bridge to say. I like my side of the story better.
So I'm gonna let you go ahead, Raymond, and tell your side of the story of how you and met.
Well, we had really met in Austin. Austin's my original home, but I went to high school in West Texas, all the way through school in Odessa. I came to TSU, one by choice, but also my mother wanted me to come, so my brother would see after me, supposedly. And we had met at a dance, and then we had re-met, I think, when I came to TSU. Thing about it, you normally doing the Texas Relays in Austin, everybody goes up for Texas Relays, and got real acquainted. And then lo and behold, the next semester, she was here. So quite naturally, I figured it was it was because I was here. So that's my side of the story.
That's your
That's your
side.
side of the story. So Anna, do you want to share yours?
Oh, that was mine. I actually came because I need to get my education.
That's
And my
right,
mother
Anna.
was, she was so right that I needed to go to school. So I transferred from UT to Texas Southern.
And
That's my
you met
side.
at a dance.
Huh?
You met at a dance.
Oh, that was back in when we were like starting senior, going to high school.
Okay.
We met at a dance. A mutual
Jack and
friend introduced us at a Jack and Jill dance.
Okay.
And it was just, that's all it was a dance at that time.
So
Nothing
then
more.
how did you end up reconnecting at Texas Southern?
Well, I guess, when she came, by then we were acquaintances, and then,
We had mutual
Friends.
friends and everybody I grew up with was at Texas Southern, and his friends were my friends, and that's how it came about.
Okay, so you were just in each other's company so much you decided that you would start dating each other.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
That's your story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay, and so Harold,
My mother had a friend who was going to pay some money for me to go to school. And in order for her to do that, I had to go to TSU.
okay,
So that was how I got there.
okay. It worked out. So how did you and Harold meet?
Well, okay. I got to Texas Southern because I was too immature to be away at college when I first got there at the Morehouse in Atlanta. And I was
My
involved.
husband has the same story.
Okay.
He started
At
at
that
Morehouse
time-
as well and was too immature to stay there.
Well, I had too good of a time, and it was in 1960 also, and the sit-ins and the demonstrations were at the height there, and I was pretty heavily involved in that, and thought I may be flunking out, and so I came home for Christmas, and then you come home for Christmas and you went back and you finished up your finals after Christmas and took your test. And so I told Daddy I wasn't going back when I came home for Christmas. He says, no, you got to go back and finish up and think this thing out. So I went back, took all my tests, and then we had one final going away gathering and got drunk. They put me on the train to Houston and to Texas Southern. My daddy arranged for me to go to Texas Southern. He's going to send me to Prairie View because he had gone to Prairie View, and I said, nope, I ain't going to Prairie View. And so Texas Southern became my destination at that point. And I passed everything with flying colors. I didn't know it. Had I stayed, I may have done better, but I'm glad I went to Texas Southern. So the next fall semester, I was standing in the lunch line at the cafeteria in, I don't know, it's Lanier Hall, but it's a central cafeteria. And I heard all this cussing going on behind me, and I looked around and I said, hey, you little lady, why are you doing all that ugly talking? She was cussing out these football players who just gotten out of practice and came in breaking line, running over people and everything. And I told her, you can't be talking like that. And so that's why we got her name. And I don't even think we ate together at that time. But from that point, she every time I go, I see a shadow tailing me around. And
That sounds like one of them Raymond Holmes stories.
hey,
Stop telling tales, Harold.
yeah. So that's how we met, actually, in that way, in that lunch line. When and she wasn't cussing real bad, she was just talking about him, but I had to cuss to make it sound good. You can't be talking like that, yeah. Because she's a preacher's daughter too.
Okay, well, you know what they say about preachers' kids. So,
Hey,
so Miss Pat, what is your version of this story of how you all came to be?
that's basically it. I was standing, we were in the line, and these guys were trying to just cut line. They were athletes, and they thought they could do whatever they wanted to do. And they came in from practice or meeting or whatever it was, and just charged up to the front of the line. And I just kind of told them that they needed to get back to their to where they needed to be, which was at the end.
Which they didn't.
And they didn't.
But that, Harold, that impressed you that she stood up for herself. It wasn't just to walk over her. Okay, so can I assume that that's how she continues to be?
Yeah, she's like that. That's
All right.
that's her.
That's her. All right. And so moving on, we have Melvin and Francis.
Well, we met in high school, and she says I stalked her.
He did.
That's some degree, some of that is true, but I just fell in love with her. She was a cheerleader. She was a scholar, and I wasn't. And so I was trying to get some help and motivation academically. And so I was ahead of her, and I went to Texas Southern, and she followed me like Raymond said. Story is similar.
That's his story.
Yeah, that's the story.
And, but our journey it's been a long one. She says she was young when we met, but she became a part of my family, of course, and she and Rose became sisters.
Very good,
very
and
close.
very good friends, sisters.
And so our journey, though, you know, we while we met in high school, Texas Southern was really our place of growth. We ended up marrying while we were students,
Okay.
Texas Southern, and had absolutely nothing. I mean, I was parking cars. She was working for one of the instructors on campus. But through that, I look back on it and our love for Texas Southern and all the people we met that are, you know, that are have been so influential.
Part of our lives, like
Part of our
this
life,
group right
like
here.
this group right here.
And I might add, because I don't know that, you know, you got all the full connection because, so Rose and I were in the same class in high school. So we graduated at the same time. So through me dating him, we became like the best of best friends. And I oftentimes laugh and say, I think I liked Rose more than I did him. He had to grow on me.
Don't tell him, friend, don't tell him.
He had to grow on me, but anyway. So when we got on campus, one of my mentors, who was a senior at the time, had encouraged me to go to the AKA's interviews. And she would see me on the yard and she said, listen, interviews are coming up on whichever day it was. And she'd see me, you better be there. I'll be looking for you. And I'm like, okay. I didn't know much about sororities or anything. So the day of the interviews came up and I told Rose, I said, I got to go to this thing. I got to go to this interview. She said, well, what is it? I said, I don't know. It's something about a sorority, but it's a good thing. Come on, go with me.
Must be good.
It must be good. And so I took Rose with me. So we go to the interviews. Neither one of us knew what we were getting into. We're sitting there, and sitting next to us was Brenda North, who should be on this call, but you know, she's not. And that's Pat's sister. Of course, I didn't know Pat.
Brenda Dizer. Yeah.
She was Brenda Dizer, and she's sitting there waiting too to be interviewed. And so I introduced myself and she introduced herself and we got to know each other. So the three of us ended up being online together. And then that's when we met Anna, because Anna is also our line sister. So all four of us were, that's where our friendship began, the four of us. And I didn't know Pat or Harold at the time, but
But I
did.
had a side note. I actually knew Pat
before
I met
anybody
else except her, except Francis. Because Pat and I worked, well, I was working part-time, one of my part-time hustles, because I had to do something. I was married. And so I worked at Foley's department store, Pat.
Oh, downtown.
Downtown. Pat, what was that? The book department?
Uh-huh.
I think it was the book department.
I worked in the book department.
Yeah, and that's where we met. She had a bigger job than I did. I was stocking. And but her brother, Anthony, who is now deceased, and I became best friends in class, and because we had classes together. So just a whole lot of things that I attribute to you know, all of us being at Texas Southern together.
And it connected all of us.
Yeah.
But
So
ultimately, I think Donnie and Harold, you were both at Foley's as well, right? Around the same time?
Yeah, Harold was there first.
Yeah. I was the Foley's was my first job out of college. And when I graduated in 65, I went to work for Foley's, and I'm correct if my recollection is right, is that I was the highest paid graduate of any college department at Texas Southern when I went to Foley's. I made $9,565 a year.
that was good money. That was
All
good
right.
money.
And so I went to work at Foley's in the executive training program to understand fashion merchandising and store merchandising in general. And so I was there for a year and a half. And when I found out that we had to work hard and don't get Christmas days off, because retail, you got to work through Christmas because that's your time that you're gonna make money or not. And I said, I'm too family. We go home. I'm here. I'm waiting till Christmas Eve, shut down to close the store and get on the road. So I left that Folders deal, but that was a Folders connection at that point. But a lot of stuff happened before Folders came along for us. So we met on campus, and we eloped on campus. So Fran got married, Donnie Rose got married. I don't know about Anna and Raymond, but we just took off and eloped and got married. Don't know what got into our heads. Not only did we, but it was a double elope. Another couple that we hung out with all the time, Gerald and Viratine Pratt, were there on campus with us, and we told them that night on the steps of Hannah Hall Auditorium. I said, y'all, we're gonna get married. She said, what, really? I said, we will too. And so, so then we start hatching this plan. And this is back to the Vietnam draft, and you think about all that. So we said, I didn't want to get drafted. I said, we're gonna get married one day, right? She said, yeah, that's right. So, well, let's go ahead and do it now. And so we told Pratt. So I'm gonna keep it short. We borrowed a car from Cranford Crawford, who was my frat brothers, A5A frat brothers in Texas Southern. Borrowed some money to buy some gas and drove to Angleton, to the county seat, to get a marriage license. So we walked into the courthouse and told the lady we want to get a marriage license. She said, okay, do y'all have your blood test? So we whipped out our TSU health cards that had our blood type on there. And she laughed and said, honey, this ain't gonna do it. So we had to go back to Houston, find a lab, borrow some more money, get a blood test.
That's right.
Got the blood test and went downtown to Jack Turrentine, the Justice of the Peace, and he did a 2-for-1 ceremony for the 4 of us downtown in the courthouse. Now, Dinah's going to get into the other story about how it happened, by how, see, first, her dad was a Baptist minister, and we didn't ask them. In fact, I don't know that I had really met them, really. Okay, they had been down to visit her on campus, but I never really met them and knew them. And for some reason, God behold, we decided that they wouldn't okay us getting married, so we're just gonna get married anyway. That's what she told me. So, so we got married. But and then, as beginning to unravel, I went home, and our plan was I was going to ask him could I have his daughter's hand in marriage, and he was going to say no, and I was going to say, well, a little late, we're already married. So I got up there and I laid my little plan out at the kitchen table and everything. And, he said his deep voice, well, son, looks like y'all got it all figured out. It's fine with me. So, no, not yet. So her mama came in the room and everybody's hugging and clapping and everything. So we set a date for August. And then I got in the car, went back to Texas Southern. I drove it up there for that purpose in mind. And they commenced to ordering material for bridesmaid dresses and naming bridesmaids and ordered invitations and all that. Come to find out, he was a pastor. So he was a mayor, so he'd had to sign a license, but the license was already signed by Jack Turrentine. So he couldn't marry us, okay, because we were already married. We hadn't told him that. All right, so then we had to sit down and fess up. And so my parents were complicit. And I was only 20 and she was 19. So she was an adult in the eyes of the state of Texas. I was not. So I had to get a notarized statement from my daddy saying I had his permission to get married. So, and he didn't tell Reverend Dizer and the family up there what was going on. Maybe he didn't know at that point. But in any event, the lawyers started talking to us and said, well, y'all can't get married because you need to wait 6 months and if you get a divorce, you got to wait 6 months. If you get an annulment, you got to wait. It wasn't going to work. So we had to drive and sit down in the room and tell the story. And when we got through the story, he said, well, look like y'all done gone and put the horse before the cart. Well, we wanted to laugh because the statement would have been you to put the cart before the horse. Okay. And from that point on in, we were mending fences and trying to convince them that we were decent people and we're gonna be okay. Oh, yeah, me. All right. But that's and the other
But
couple
you had
goes,
to convince them.
Yeah.
You had to do all the convincing of her
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
So Donald and Rose, we haven't heard a lot from
Yes.
you all and your relationship and how the whole process went and what it was like dating each other on campus at Texas Southern.
Right. Well, we didn't have that much time that we were actually on campus together since he is an older man. Yeah. So we were talking about it today. Because I started in 66. Maybe there was 1 year that we were both on campus together, but there were many frat parties and, the FIAs, AKAs. So that's where our initial meetings took place. And so he graduated and what year?
Seven.
In 67, and then he went off to training school in Dallas, I think. And
San
San
Francisco.
Francisco, that was the long.
Yeah, I was
So-
like Harold when I graduated. That was, I had a job at IBM and that was, the $9,600 a year. So
Okay.
that was top money,
Big
Yeah.
Big money.
big dollar.
Big dollars.
Big money.
Right, so, anyway.
It actually was.
It
That
really
time.
was.
When you consider the gas is 25 cents a gallon.
Right.
Ooh.
So
And that was
Yeah.
mine.
did
Yeah.
you say that you got married before you graduated also?
Well, yes, actually, I think there was one semester before I graduated, because I actually came out that January and I wasn't expecting to finish that soon.
Okay.
So, yeah.
It was because I helped. That's pretty.
Ah, okay, yes, I would still be there taking math if not for Donnie. Hated math, hated, still hate
So we
it.
looks like we have two
Yeah.
relationships. Nova said Francis was a smarter one and helping him out, and so that's the same
Yes.
thing.
Right,
Okay.
let's just say
Choose well.
we leaned on that shield.
Right.
Right.
Excellent. So you all didn't date very long on campus, and Harold and Pat, you dated and you got married. I guess while you were still in school, Pat, and continued. So once you got married and you were still in school, how did that work?
Well, you had to work it out. We were fortunate enough that we got an apartment at the CUNY Homes, which is the public housing project right behind Texas Southern, and that's where our first apartment was. And I got a job as an intern at NASA when they first brought NASA to Houston, and I was working out at the Space Center doing accounting type work for the Space Center. So that I think I got like $65. $70 a month from that part-time job. And then I was president of the student body, and I got $45 a month from that job. And then we had help from our parents. Daddy gave me his Gulf gas card so I could pay, buy gas, and we just hustled and did what we had to do. And then we graduated, got out and started moving forward. But
Where was the counting the dead rats? Where was that?
oh, that was when I was still in the frat house before we got married. And I always tell everybody, in fact, there's a guy in my BSF class who retired from Baylor College of Medicine. He was a scientist. And I told him that I set cancer research back probably 50 years with my lackadaisical work at their mouse colony, because I had to inventory and count and wrap up the deceased mice and document who lived, who died, feed them, and all this. And I just do a real good job, and they ran me off out there. But
So you had quite a few hustles going on so that you could take care of your wife while you were finishing school. Okay.
yeah,
Right. Well, in our situation, just like Rose and Donnie, we really weren't on campus very much at the same time. because he was an upperclassman when I got there, and he would, he had courses mostly in the morning hours, and then he left and went to work. I was on campus all day. I was a science major, so when I wasn't in class, I was working for one of the professors, and then I was in lab. I mean, so I had a long, full day. And so he would be gone to his many hustles. And so in terms of like the socialization with the sorority and all, I would just go to the various functions that we were involved in, because I was the ambassador of the chapter, and I'd go to my service projects and do whatever I had to do there. And he would always be at work, but we managed to, we'd go to some basketball games and stuff like that on the weekends and all.
But I think, looking back, Harold used the right word. I mean, we hustled. We ate a lot of beans and sausages, but we thought that was what everybody else ate. And
Just made it work.
we made it work. But we had house parties on weekends,
Yeah.
That's
we,
right.
we rented a little house, and you could see, the wind would blow in Raymond through underneath the
Front
cracks of
door
the
and the
front
back
door.
door was too short.
But the temptation was big at that time.
Oh, yeah.
And
And
so
festivals.
I think we dated more on campus probably than
Yeah.
the other couples, because when I came, we were both in the dorm. And
Yeah.
he was in like the men's dorm and I was in the ladies' dorm. And the way TSU is, if you don't have a car, or if you did, we really didn't have car or money. So everything was centered around what was on campus. So we would do, if they had a movie night in the auditorium, that may be every once in a while. They would have basketball games down at the gym. That was also the place where dances would take place, was down at the TSU gym. And it didn't have air conditioning. So you could get ready to make you do a trip down the Wheeler Street to go to the gym, and you be looking cute as you can be.
was
But
that
you hit that
Fairchild?
TSU gym.
Was that Fairchild Gym at that time?
Fairchild. We would hit Fairchild Gym, and by that time, with natural hair, your hair was gonna look like I don't know what. But you were down there sweating and enjoying yourself in the gym. So that was most of all of the activities that we attended on TSU campus was directly on campus, with the dances, the frat parties. The frat party was normally after we played, we would go to the frat party at the frat house, and we kind of enjoyed that. And then sometimes you knew someone who lived off campus, and
And I was
that
gonna-
kind of aided us.
I was going to say, with Melvin and Fran and myself, we were computers, because we commuted to campus because we lived in the city. But we didn't miss very much that was going on at all. We were on campus because all of our close friends and
friends.
family, they were on campus. So we always had a spot to hang.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I
Another-
think sports was a big part
Mhm.
of everything
Right.
we did. And, we didn't miss a football game. They were
Right.
huge. Basketball was
TSU
big, the
relays.
TSU
You
relays.
really, right.
And so that was a big connection for all of us to Texas Southern.
Mhm.
Yeah, back when we were there, it was in the days of the Flying Tigers, the world famous track team
Okay.
there. And the big time relays that came to Jefferson Stadium brought some of the biggest names in sports. Bob Hayes ran there, Gail Sayers ran there in the TSU relays. In fact, the guy that we eloped with was the pole vaulter for the track team. He was one of the first black pole vaulters to clear 15 feet, Gerald Pratt. So it was a sports connection, and you had football games down there. It was just, we thought we would get Jefferson Stadium. We thought that was our home stadium, that we owned it, because that's where we went all the time. Lo and behold, we didn't own it. U of H or somebody else's city owned it, and they got it. But you talk about how we made things happen. You get back to the help we got. Like Donnie actually lived with us for a while in the CUNY homes. And Donnie and Anthony, Pat's brother. And you and Anthony did live, right? Didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we got stipends from our parents in lieu of them paying dormitory or paying food. Then we got stipends to supplement our budget. And they had the room. It was a 2-bedroom apartment, a CUNY home, no AC period, those old crank out windows. And somebody was talking about the CUNY homes not being safe and people, breaking in on you. I told them, people not trying to break into CUNY homes, they're trying to break out of the CUNY homes. So we feel very comfortable being in the CUNY homes, which is a government housing project. But that's where we made it.
That was across the street from Texas Southern, just across the street.
Walking
Right.
distance, yeah,
Mhm.
Class.
yeah,
It was like campus housing.
yeah.
I think that's
Now
probably.
your screen is going again.
Yeah, it'll stop.
The screen is going again.
It'll stop.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Mhm.
All right, so let's fast forward a little bit. You all met one way or the other. You all are friends. You all hang out with each other. While you were dating and after you got married, some of you all lived together. So how is it that you've continued your relationship with Texas Southern since you've graduated? Do you all go to homecoming together, do other things like that? How do you give back? What is your HBCU love for your alma mater?
Well, it's
Let me say one of the things that both Harold and I actually worked for Texas Southern for a period of time. And that was a great extension of us being college students there. And I think for both of us, it kind of propelled us to make sure that we stayed connected because we knew so many people that weren't even there when we were college students. And so we just continued. Obviously, I love Raymond and Anna are just sports fans, man. And so,
Love it.
we knew that if there was a basketball game going on, that we had to be there. Football, it didn't matter, Raymond. I mean,
Yeah.
we were going to be there. And Harold. So it was just to see the fact that we all knew people that were longtime faculty members at the university that meant so much in our lives. I think for all of us, I know it could speak for us, that kind of loyalty was something that we felt an obligation to make sure that we kept up with what was going on at Texas Southern.
Well, for me, I always, enjoyed, being around and real kind of active. After I finished and got my first job, I began a hobby of flying. And I belonged to the Maroon and Gray Club. And one day the coach needed to recruit some players. And I flew one of the coaches up one night to McGregor. And we signed 3 fellows that night. And also the coach was kind of leery of the plane because we had to get it boosted with another car to get it started.
Oh.
Now, when you said you flew, tell the whole story. You flew the plane.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You didn't charter them up there, Leslie.
No,
Okay.
I flew the coach up. We had to get jumped when we left High Bay with some cables. I said, well, don't worry, it's okay. Once we get started, we don't need the battery. All we can do is get started. So he believed me. We got there. And then when we got to McGregor, it was right out of Waco. He had some friends that took us around to the different players. He's, got them all signed. And then we had to go back to the airport, which was now it's around about 1 o'clock in the morning. And the plane wouldn't start again, so we had to get them. The fella that the coach knew was really kind of leery of it. Because I said, oh well, we done this. We old at this now. So that's one way I kind of stayed real active with the Maroon and Gray Club, trying to help him recruit when we go to events, flying events. If I met somebody, I would try to talk them into thinking about Texas Southern. So a couple of people we met actually was recruited by Moreland and, and played for the school. So that's one thing, kind of staying involved with, also with, giving projects and, things of this nature is one reason I think kind of kept our ties to Texas Southern and whatever was going on during that time, especially with all of us being close friends.
And then one of the jobs you had was alumni relations, wasn't it?
Right.
Director of alumni relations. So
Mhm.
that kept us going back to the campus for all the various events and sporting events and what have you. Anything that was going on, we were there.
And I was athletic director for 3 years there at Texas Southern, and saw a side of life at the HBCU that I had not experienced before. I didn't know how all that worked. During the early years after graduation, as I got off into jobs and businesses, then my time and my involvement was much more limited than it became just prior to becoming athletic director and during that time. And I didn't have the close connection after 10 years away from the campus, raising family and working and all. So it was good to get back to the university in a capacity of helping and seeing how the kids were having to make it in college. And being AD, when you look at the student athletes and the things they have to go through to make it, when you have a volleyball team, you've got 6 scholarships you've got to cut up in 14 different ways in order to get the girls the ability to register, to get books, or when you've got a track team and you got to field, 8 different squads, and you got to put them on these raggedy buses and driving from Texas to Jackson and going down to Alabama and breaking down and seeing that side of life of what goes on to make colleges like the HBCUs work, because we're underfunded, under-resourced, underappreciated, and
Right.
it's a challenge. You look at the kids that come out of that, and you say to yourself, how did they make it and why did they stay? Mike Strahan, why did he stay? I know he had no different set of benefits than anybody else, but he stayed and made it. You had basketball players and track players and baseball players that have all come through. It's a challenge when you at an HBCU. Donnie, he was very involved with the School of Business, and I'll let him tell about that. We've had interviews and help programs and awards, and Donnie was more involved than I was.
Yeah, one of the things I do want to point out, though, because recently, of course, there's been a lot of conversation about funding for HBCUs and the resources at HBCUs, and especially as it pertains to the athletic programs. But one thing that I always tell people is that when we look at resources, we tend to think of monetary resources, something that we can quantify. But the biggest asset of an HBCU has always been the people that are there. You have people who are going to figure out how to make it work for the students that are there, even though they know that they're not getting paid what they should be getting paid because the university isn't getting the money that it's supposed to be getting from the state. They don't necessarily have the large donors that some other schools have. Supporting them, but the people who work there are always committed to the student body, and that's what makes the difference in our HBCUs. And it's the reason why I'm so dedicated to promoting our schools is not because of the money. I mean, money obviously makes things we need money. It's extremely important, but like his model is I'll find a way or make one, and it's the same thing for our college. We figure out how to make it work, even though we don't have the financial resources. We have the human resources to make the difference with our students.
Yeah, just like Melvin.
And so Donald, you were saying that you worked in the school business.
I'm sorry.
I didn't work for the School of Business. I was there's what's known as the Business Advisory Team, which is a group of individuals that business people and instructors within the community that advise the dean on how the School of Business might be moving, how we can get more students in, how we can raise money for the scholarships. So I was a part of that up until the pandemic hit, and haven't gotten back on board with that yet.
Okay.
And I was about to say, on the screen there too, Melvin Plummer, and when you look at getting kids aid and financial aid and getting them in the ability to get enrolled into school and overcoming hurdles and things like that, so that good students didn't get lost in the shuffle. Plummer is famous. His name, you go to anybody who's been to Texas Southern from 1990, 93 and 94 forward through 2000 plus, you say Plummer, oh, I know Mr. Plummer. Mr. Plummer got me, I was not going to be enrolled, and he got my Pell Grant came through, or he got me some aid over here, and so that's what I've seen firsthand experience at.
Connections.
Yeah.
There's another side that kind of all of us kind of really reinforced our connection, and it's really unusual. But one of our dear friends and their frat brother, not mine, became the president of Texas Southern. And I think our closeness and our relationship with him, as he was the dean of the law school for years and then became the president. But, as we watched someone, who was that close to us really, move into that very political position, I think, Raymond can attest, I think it just made us aware of the intensity of the struggle.
Yeah.
And watch what he had to go through.
Because we were there.
Yeah, because we were there, and it turns out he was somebody that we knew, all of us, for all of our, I felt like all our lives. But to see,
He was a year behind me in TSU. I was student body president one year. He came and succeeded me as student body president the following year. And, so I've known Doug for a long time there. But I mean, go ahead on.
What I was going to say is it took all of those connections is what kept us all involved into TSU. And during the time when we came along, there was a lot of activism going on the campus. Mickey Leland was there during the time when we were there. Okay. So there was a lot of change going on. And then with the people that we went to school with, they started, like the Plumbers, the Odoms, they were involved in the school. So that kept us involved in the school. We knew when things were going to be happening, we got invitations from them because people stayed involved in Texas Southern. And with Doug, like he said, Doug, I'm sure he's doctor, but we know about Doug being over the law school. He basically kept us involved through the fraternity, through TSU, and being involved with what was going on at the HBCU level. And also if there were fundraisers and trips and homecoming, it was never missed during those years. We never missed homecoming.
That's right.
And probably what you're picking up already is not only are we family, but we're really family through and that's the spirit that's there. It's a spirit of family, and you just keep everybody tuned in and on point and what's happening, and hey, we need this, and you just rise to the occasion and do whatever it takes to
make it happen.
Achieve
And that right there speaks to the greatness of HBCUs. It fosters loyalty, family, togetherness. You have your instructors who are dedicated, competent people who care about you as an individual, not just a number, as you see on some of the other larger campuses. It also speaks to the fact why we stay involved, why we come back, because it's that special character that's developed on our campuses that inspires us to want to come back, to stay involved, and not only that, send our children to HBCUs. Many of them have followed in our examples, and we could not be prouder about their choices.
So I think that's actually a great place to close out, because it talks about HBCU love. But since you mentioned it, how many of you can have a legacy that continued after you, whether it's your children or grandchildren that either went to Texas Southern or another HBCU?
A whole bunch of them.
All of them.
Yeah.
Oh.
One of my daughters, in fact, both of my daughters graduated from HBCUs. Robin's from Howard, Andre's from Texas Southern. And we've had one grandson graduate Howard. We've had granddaughter graduate Hampton. Another grandson graduated Prairie View. We've got Mason will graduate Howard in May. So that's a continuity there.
Both of our daughters graduated from Texas Southern. My grandson graduated from Howard. We have a granddaughter graduating in May from Hampton. So.
And our daughter graduated from Tuskegee, and the reason she got down there is because they had a full scholarship waiting on her. So that's where she attested.
All right.
Yeah. And then our son attended Texas Southern.
Okay.
All right.
He enjoyed it.
Did Raymond, did you fly her there in your plane?
No. But they,
Oh,
because my flying club went to Tuskegee because of
the
competition every year.
That's what I thought.
She met a lot of people that knew me,
That's right.
and so they kind of took her in, and she was close with them because of that, though.
That's what
And
I
we
think.
ended up having kind of like an exchange program going on because Raylan went to Tuskegee, but a family we met down there was prominent in the Tuskegee area. They sent their son to play at Texas Southern, and he played basketball
Anthony.
at Texas
Oh,
Southern.
Anthony, huh?
Yes. So
Yeah.
Anthony still calls us mom and dad to the day because we still get together. So that's how things, the HBCU experience just brings it all the way back home. You send ours, they'll send us, so it's the love that is fostered within that system.
and we had two in the HBCU systems. Our oldest son started at Hampton, went to TSU, and now this May will march with Hampton.
Mhm.
My daughter attended Spell.
Okay.
So the other son went to a local Texas college and then Golf Academy. So he did not get that experience, but he heard about it.
Probably a little jealous that he can get to experience it like
Yeah,
some.
right.
It is. It's an experience. It truly
It
is.
is.
It's an experience. And you can't really,
for a lifetime.
you can't really explain it to someone who has not experienced it.
Mhm.
But those that have been in there, they know exactly what we're talking about.
Talking
when we say
about.
that. It's an
This is
experience.
real experience.